Today's video, we're going to be looking at classic Hollywood lighting techniques. We're going to be recreating classic Hollywood portraits on film with the Hasselblad 501 and on digital with the Fuji GFX 50S2. Classic Hollywood portraits have a timeless elegance, soft glow, the striking shadows, and a mysterious depth that makes them feel more like paintings than photographs. Before we get into the setup, let's break down the classic Hollywood studio look. Lighting is usually a strong, hard source key, which is going to be either a Fresnel lens, a beauty dish, or a deep softbox. And it's going to be very controlled, and you'll control it using flags and various different light modifiers. For the makeup, it's usually a soft glow, intricate hair, and perfect skin. Melodrama was all about heightened emotions, big expressions, clear gestures. It came from silent film where actors had to show everything but without words. The background is often simple, a neutral colour or a textured backdrop to keep the focus on the subject. The first thing I did to set up the lighting for this shoot was to crack open my flag kit. Flags are often underutilised in still photography, but they are absolutely crucial in cinematography, often earning themselves rather bizarre names. It's called a Charlie bar because back in the day you couldn't see cleavage through the sensors, so you would just block the light. After some experimentation, I settled on 150 watt LED with a Fresnel adapter straight on, flagged by two blades in a V shape, one soft and one totally opaque. Overhead I had a large soft flag, and behind her I put an AMRAM tube on the floor to give me a gradient to the background. Most of the techniques that I'm using in this video are outlined rather beautifully in this book by cinematographer John Alton called Painting with Light. John Alton was the cinematographer behind The Big Combo and The Jury, and I think he shot over 2,000 pictures during his lifetime. In this book, he outlines his techniques very thoroughly, in a world before any discernible post-production and certainly no Photoshop. George Hurrell was the godfather of Hollywood portrait photography. He mastered the art of sculpting light to create depth and glamour within his portraits of stars like Joan Crawford and Clark Gable. These portraits were technically precise, but they also had soul. He wasn't just lighting a face, he was creating a world. The shadows, the angles, the fall off. All of it was designed to draw the eye exactly where he wanted it, and every frame had intention. Let's keep the head straight, chin down a touch. I really like this look, so I've pulled out the Linhof Technika 5.4. It's the only colour film that I've got. I've got some Portra 400. And also a lot of the early, classic Hollywood portraits would have been shot on, formats about 5.4 or bigger, like 8x10. So to really get that look, it's really fun to experiment. There's something about shooting with a camera like this that puts you in a different headspace. It's slower, heavier, and everything becomes more intentional. You're looking pretty good. On the subject of large format photography, photographer Ted Allen wrote, "Because the 8x10 negative was so necessary to the inexpensive mass printing needed by the studios, there was no such thing as a custom enlargement or recomposing. It was essential to compose directly onto the negative." Classic Hollywood portraits often had a confident, slightly mysterious feel. The eyes engaging directly with the viewer. When you're directing your subject, try to get them to think of specific feelings or emotions rather than just a pose. For a classic Hollywood look, try to find an air of mystery or confidence rather than just happiness. I want you to think about result direction. Now, a result direction is when you ask your subject for a result. Just be happy, just be sad. This doesn't actually work, especially when you say to your subject, relax, because that's just going to make someone feel like they're not relaxed. And in fact, if you say act happy, the subject's going to think, am I miserable? So what you need to do is inspire that result rather than just ask for it. And when someone starts to feel it, they really feel it. You'll know. The posture changes, the eyes settle, and suddenly the photo starts working. And that's the moment you feel it, you see it, the photo's already there, you just have to take it. Even film stars, it would seem, needed help from their photographers. Ted Allen described his first official session with Jean Harlow. Of all the people I thought wouldn't feel self-conscious when posing, after all, the whole basis of her personality on screen was outgoing and freewheeling, it was Jean. Yet when it was time for the stills, she was terribly. When she turned on, I'd take better pictures. After she'd had a couple of drinks, she'd get into the mood and begin to enjoy posing. And then she'd go like wildfire. But I realized then that she always needed something personal. That feeling of being liked. It made her feel secure.
She's got a brilliant laugh, isn't she? She's wild.
I'm using a number of cameras on this shoot, but mainly I'm using a modern digital camera. This gives me plenty of resolution and dynamic range to work with, but honestly you can get this look on any mirrorless or DSLR camera that allows you to shoot a raw image and manually control the exposure. We can barely scratch the surface of this amazing period in photography in this 7-minute YouTube video. In a way, this shoot is a reminder that timeless images don't come from chasing trends, but from mastering the fundamentals: light, shape, and emotion. You don't need vintage equipment to make these images. You don't need vintage equipment to make images that feel classic, but you do need to slow down and really see what you're doing. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. You can catch me on Patreon, you can buy prints on my Darkroom Tech page, and you can even get discounts on some of the gear that I'm using if you check out the show notes below.